How's that?
Oh man, Zarvox never sleeps. It's like Rust never sleeps. I think Neil,
Rust, it's true. Rust never sleeps.
There was an album about that, yeah.
Yeah. Not unless you were to take away the water or the oxygen.
Yes.
You need both for rust.
But then you're not sleeping.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
For some people, for some reason, people think that rust is only an oxygen thing. Never understood that. It's a
they're probably trying to form colonies on Mars too, as far as I know. Not to name any names.
Poor Elon. He is extremely confused.
He's being picked on by me. I know that.
And me. I will do it.
I'll do it. Nobody else will. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Bum, 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 bum. I even left my instruments of science at home, so that's all right. Hey, listen, I am so excited because I have Robert. Remember last week when I had too many topics?
Yeah.
I still have too many.
You did it again.
And they include some of your favorites, like cannibalism, graphene.
I love cannibalism.
In
fact.
Those crazy. Those shrimp. I know how much you love shrimp, but those shrimp that have those claws, explosive claws. You'd be surprised at how they're being.
Mantis shrimp.
Well, the mantis shrimp. Yeah,
the mantis shrimp. Yeah.
This is mantis shrimp.
When I was in American Samoa, some of my best friends.
Samoa, my best friends.
Samoa, my best friends were descendants of the cannibals.
Oh, I thought you were going to say of mantis shrimp.
No,
what do you mean descendants of cannibals?
Descendants of cannibals. In fact, there is a plaque on the back side of the island of Tutuila.
Are you telling too much?
I am probably telling way too much. But on the back side of the island of Tutuila, where there are no roads that you have to hike to or snorkel to.
Wow.
There is a plaque that was put there by the French, and every year or so...
Well, they know cuisine, too.
Oh, they do. In fact, they were... some time ago, they were a part of the cuisine.
Oh, my God.
There was a French explorer ship came into the backside of the island, and there was a village there. And... there was a misunderstanding, shall we put it, and some of the French didn't make it back to the ship, but they did make it into the stew pot.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I should say not stew pot, the ground ovens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so every year there is a ship from France that comes and places a wreath on that, and I happen to be
there. Is it
there.
like a sprig of basil with? No.
that is really low, Richard. But that is awesome. So I happened to be there one Saturday morning when the French ship was there, and I knew enough French to sort of carry on a conversation until they went, "Do you speak English?"
No. Thank goodness.
And then we carried on the rest of the conversation, and it turned out that several of the French crew did not make it back to the ship.
Wow.
I don't know if somebody called somebody's mama something. I don't know what happened, but it did not go well. So, yes.
So the early Samoans appreciated French cuisine as much as
they
many
certainly
other people
did. Yes, they went, "Oh, yes, these French are delicious."
Oh my goodness!
Hey, you folks are listening.
I'm too scared to do the rest of the show now.
You folks are listening to Radio Science News, and we'll have all kinds of specialties there. You're listening to episode number 802 in a series. This is September 4th, 2021. If you're into prime numbers, anything that ends in a 2, except for 2 is, of course, not a prime number. So this is actually the factors 2 and 401. Isn't that interesting?
Those are nice.
Today is also, if you live on the planet Venus, and I know some of you do, this is the 25th anniversary of Radio Science News on Venus.
In Venus years.
In Venus years, yes.
Wow.
Venus years.
I just have a vacation home there. I don't really, I don't spend the whole year there. The heat is so much.
Oh, the heat, it's worse than New Orleans.
It's a wet heat. It's a wet heat.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Sulfurous. All right, listen, I've got variants, I've got enzymes, I've got tardigrades, I've got the Mars trip. I have some news about the ECAT demo that's coming up.
ECAT demo. Hey, before you continue, if you want to get to Richard's reading off the topics from our Launchpad of Science, if you go to the Smart Center webpage, which is www.smartcenter.org, click on the words Radio Science News just above the trifecta rainbow there. I'm going to do that, and for the first time in my existence in this universe, in the multiverse, in this Earth sense,
You'll see
we will
today's
see today's
topics.
launch pad of science. I'm so excited. As my little blue thingy goes around and around. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Variants, enzyme, tardigrades. I love tardigrades.
Tardigrades
I
are
think tardigrades are the coolest things
They
ever.
are very cool. And they could make a Mars trip.
Then
Probably.
they could make a Mars trip, and they could
survive.
probably come back alive too.
But look
unlike
at this.
human
But
beings.
look at this other stuff I've got: 0 point, vortex beams,
Vortex beams.
cannibalism,
No,
photonic.
you don't have. You skip solar hauler.
Well, solar hauler.
Solar hauler. Then cannibalism.
Yeah, and then Edzanoa, which we didn't. These are the ones
Edzanoa.
that we haven't gotten to for 3 weeks.
Photonic graphene, shrimp crown.
Shrimp crown.
Ooh.
Now, the thing that's going to excite you the most, of course, is that I
and
chart.
then bonus chart.
Okay, so I'll
Oh,
tell you what,
my.
because I'm afraid we're already going to be spending a lot of time with COVID issues.
Yes.
Let us look at the chart first, and then the
Okay.
bonus chart,
Chart.
and that way maybe, and who knows how far we'll get after that. Because
knows?
okay, I'm clicking on the chart, the very first one, and this is from. I love this little website called Worldometer.
This
Worldometers.
is cool. I bumbled into this a while
Yeah,
back.
we talked about
this
this
is a
before.
really good website. Okay, so in Florida, 3,354,000. Wait. This can't be.
These are coronavirus
Is-
cases.
Is just in Florda?
I
There's
think it is, yeah.
3.354 million
Just cases.
coronavirus cases in
Yeah.
Florida. 46,324 deaths.
Yeah,
In Florida?
in Florida.
Wow, I don't think I'm going to be going to Florida
Oh,
anytime
I've
soon.
canceled. I'm going to put. I decided not to wax my surfboard.
I just want to say that when I'm looking down, there's a graph, and I love graphs. And it's a proper graph because it starts at 0. If your graph does not start at 0 and they don't make a big deal about that, they're trying to lie to you. I'm just going to tell you that up front. But this is not one of those graphs. So it starts back here, March 12th, 2020, at essentially 35 cases. Okay, and then it goes to 74 cases by June 13th,
And that's in
2020.
March.
And then it goes up, and you can see the first wave, and then it goes down, and then it goes up. In February 3rd, we've got 1.74
So wait.
million.
So this top
And
thing
then
must be the
it's-
world cases.
And then it
no,
sort
that
of
can't be right.
Sort of stays that, and then it goes down a
That's
little bit
Florida.
again, and then July 17th,
Yeah, there it goes.
right about there, then the slope gets really bad. And folks, slope means rate.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever you look at a slope, it's a rate. If the slope is going up,
Sharply
that means that
upward.
it's increasing. If it's going up sharply, that means it's
Exponentially.
really increasing. If it's leveled off, if it's a horizontal line, that means no change in the rate.
Right.
If it's going down, that means that the rate is going down.
Yeah.
That it's not slowed down, it's not stopped. That would be a horizontal line.
Right.
But it's going in reverse.
Now,
We
of course,
have-
this reminds me of a mathematics joke I could apply to this, that if you saw this line going straight up, or
Yes.
nearly straight up,
Nearly straight
you
up.
could kiss your asymptote goodbye, is what I would say.
Oh, I just want
That's a math joke for you math teachers out
being
there.
being that this is a total cases chart, you'll never see it go down. You'll only see it go horizontal.
right.
Excuse me, I was
Now, if you
speaking in other graphs.
And again, just because we're going to quickly look at this chart, if you scroll down to the very next one, you talked about, there's the first wave, second wave,
Remember,
third wave,
the first
fourth
wave, way back in April of 2020, that little tiny blip there, if you go down to daily new cases in Florida, that little tiny blip on this line graph, that was our first wave. Then in the middle, July 17th, 2020, that's our second wave. Then if you go to January 5th, 2021, that's our third wave. If you go to April 14th, 2021, that's our fourth wave. If you now look to August 27th, and they've things are bouncing around, but August 27th is the height. This is higher than any of the waves previous.
Yeah, it is. It's
Folks, we're not learning anything.
well, we are learning some things,
Well,
but
we are learning that this is getting worse and worse,
Yeah.
but we're not learning enough to keep it from getting worse and worse. we learned enough after the first wave to know nothing. That's why we had a giant second wave. We then had a third wave. We then had a fourth wave, but the fourth wave was lower than the third wave.
Well, but here's
And then it went way down.
well, here's the important thing too. And
And
as you're
then
looking
we didn't learn anything.
So you're looking at that
again.
chart too. At this point, this is where we started getting the vaccine.
Yep.
And look
The
where
vaccine-
it could have gone. Look
Yep.
where it could have gone.
It should have gone down, and yet somehow
Spring break.
about
Here's this Florida.
about March 12th,
Spring break. There you
yeah,
go.
2021, it started going up again.
Yeah.
So there were people that didn't get the vaccine. They decided, oh, it's over. I'm tired of all this. Yeah, and then it went back up to a high on April 13th.
All right. Wow.
And then it went way down again. I mean, it went way down in June, and it's now
The
absurd.
overarching message that Robert and I always have here is please get your
Get your
vaccine.
vaccine,
Now,
please.
since I did say to you, Robert, that you'd be excited about the bonus chart,
oh.
I
There's a
included
bonus
a bonus chart because I'm saying you and I look at these charts, right?
Yes.
And people say, listen to us talk about the charts, and I'm saying, oh, this is easy. And they go, yeah, oh, easy for you to understand, math boys and all that. So I found a chart that I thought if one were to see this chart, you would get it. You would get it. This is the cumulative rate
Okay.
of U.S. COVID-19 hospitalizations of adults by vaccination status from January through July.
Okay. That's
So it's
pretty
cumulative,
straightforward.
and what it has, if you're a West Virginia University fan or Michigan State, it's got sort of a blue and gold. It's got two different lines.
Well, wasn't that nice?
So one of the lines, Robert, it would be people who are vaccinated.
Okay, and that's the gold line, and
Yeah,
and back in
it's not going
January,
anywhere.
Sorry, it's something's asking me for something.
January-
Back in January 30th.
Right, they started on January 30th, which is sort of when people were now finally, getting vaccinated.
Right.
Fully vaccinated. You had to
Right.
go through two
And
shots.
so this is rate per 100,000 population. On January 30th, for the fully vaccinated, it's 0.7
yeah.
people for 100,000. For the unvaccinated, it's 15.2. So let's just do the math. 15.2. You can follow along with me here.
Well, and the rate is
Divided
just,
by 0.7.
yeah, they're just
That
talking about.
means that if you're unvaccinated, your rate of getting COVID-19 is 21.7 times greater than if you had the shots
And that's just
and
yeah.
were fully vaccinated.
And of course, now
Isn't that an interesting?
the thing
number?
is, without getting too complicated, because I want to make sure we get to cover
Okay.
some other topics.
Let's do it.
When you look at this thing, you basically see that if you are fully vaccinated, it's pretty much a flat chart. In terms of being hospitalization.
Right.
Now it doesn't do death; it's just hospitalizations.
Right.
But the other line is just I don't know. It's not a 45, but it's
and I
the
just
slope.
want to say, this is what they're calling a cumulative rate, which means
Right.
that if it slows down to zero, if the rate changes zero, it will be a horizontal line
Right.
again. I'm going to the last number that they've got here, which is for the unvaccinated, July 24th. We've got 431.3 out of 100,000.
Wow.
Okay, well let's just think about what that means. That means that 0.4% of the people that are not vaccinated have that,
Been hospitalized.
have been
hospitalized. Yeah.
hospitalized by COVID-19. 0.4%, 0.43, have been hospitalized between January 30th, 2021, and essentially today. Now let's just do a little math here. The fully unvaccinated July 24th is 431.3. If I was fully vaccinated, and by the way I am, on July 24th, there are 25.5 out of 100,000 have been hospitalized. So let's do that, 25.5. And I get 16.9. That means that you're 16.9 times safer if you get the vaccine than if you don't get the vaccine as of right now for the cumulative.
Yeah. So again, the bottom line is
get your vaccine. Then you don't get sick, or your chances go down 16.9 times, folks. 16.9. Okay? And then you don't make your friends sick. Those people that are immunocompromised, you're keeping them safe. You're keeping the children safe. You're keeping the elderly safe, because as you get older, these numbers go way up.
Yeah.
We've
We've said it before. We'll say it again.
And I keep hearing people go, but it's my right. Yes, but it's also part of your social and moral and American responsibility to keep your neighbors, friends, and family safe. That's part. Don't wrap yourself in a flag and tell me, no, that's not my responsibility. That's not.
It's everybody's.
It's our responsibility.
All right, so we're gonna jump into these, and I'm gonna say I'm just the ones that are also COVID issues. Let's just touch them briefly so we can get to all these other cool things.
Yep.
First of all, there's been a lot of talk. The reason why I actually posted this one, Robert, is that I actually saw that Ohio County, where you reside,
things are going bad here.
Well, and there was
tired of sorting pills.
Yes.
No,
yes,
I'm not. The thing that's caused me to just put this up about the variants was that somebody in Ohio, they had the news story about how many were the original, the beta, the alpha, so I've been watching the different variants, and one of the variants that showed up in Ohio County was the gamma, and I'm going, I hadn't even heard that one was there. So. This is a thing I'm actually not going to spend a lot of time on it, because the point is they've got the mu, the delta, the lambda, and this is a really good breakdown of all the kind of the various, as they call them, variants of interest, if it has specific things that they're looking for. And of course, in a broad sense, the biggest thing they're concerned about is a variant that will eventually...
good article.
Yeah, because it has
excellent.
Look, it talks about the alpha variant,
the alpha, the
beta, then the gamma.
The gamma, the delta.
And we're all the way up to lambda.
What other variants are being
Oh, yes,
monitored?
I wasn't familiar with eta, iota, kappa, lambda, and most recently mu. And I know that lambda, I'm just because we're not going to talk about everything, but the lambda variant, it's not listed, but it's listed by the World Health Organization. I think that they were saying that somewhere I know we did a report about the state of Washington, that they're really concerned because they think that it's possible that some of these will finally beat the virus.
Well, wouldn't that be fabulous?
No, that would not.
I mean, because
I'm sorry, we'll beat the vaccine. I
misspoke. Yes. Yeah. We don't want that. What's going to have to happen? Of course, just like every year, you need a different flu shot because the flu keeps changing. Well, we're going to need the same for the COVID-19.
All right, let's jump back to this story about this is interesting about the enzyme.
Okay.
Ladies. Okay, so it says, like venom coursing through the body, researchers identify mechanism driving COVID-19 mortality.
Oh.
Now,
like venom cursing.
So this is the long story short. And what I'm going to ask people who will understand this concept, if they spend a little time reading it, please read through this. But basically, it says an enzyme with an elusive role in severe inflammation may be the key mechanism that's causing the real mortality and the real issues. Now that sounds like a terrible thing.
It is, yes.
But having identified it, it means
you
that
could do something about it.
Yeah, it says it's a target for therapeutic stuff. Anyway, long story short, they've identified the phospholipase A2 group 2A, or
I
as
told you.
yeah, or as we say, SPLA2-2A.
I knew that was going to
Everybody knew that. And I mean, literally, it says with the activated enzyme circulates at high levels, it has the capacity to shred membranes of vital organs. So they're thinking that this particular effect of this COVID-19 is the fact that it raises the levels of this particular enzyme to the point that it damages like the surface of your organs and your lung and all that kind of stuff, because it's you know. So what basically they go down and give you the reasoning, and it's the part that's so weird is that's actually something that's found in it's an enzyme that they call it a shredder because it's found in bacterial sepsis, and it's also found in certain snake venoms. So
Isn't that interesting?
it is. It's utterly fascinating.
That's incredible.
So protein shares a high sequence homology to the active enzyme in rattlesnake venom.
Wow.
And like a venom coursing through the body, it has the capacity to bind to receptors at neuromuscular junctions and potentially disable the function of muscles, so the weaknesses, and then the literal damage to all sorts of organ tissue.
Okay.
So they're on to this, and this is another piece of really good news.
Refers to the enzyme as a shredder for its known prevalence in severe inflammation events, and then it talks about what those events are. That's just amazing.
All right, let's jump back. Tardigrades, Robert's favorite pet.
Hey, Libby, we're talking about tardigrades. Water bears forever. I like that.
The physics. Now, this is so cool because people have noticed that these things actually appear to walk.
Yes. They do not appear to walk. They do walk.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah.
There's going to be an argument here.
Libby and I have
You've watched them.
Have actually sent off for some of these for one of our science camps.
Oh yeah,
and we
yeah.
stuck them under the
Tardigrades.
microscope and we did little movies of them and I think this was a Girls Enjoying Math and Science camp.
Well, and the thing that
And
we
it was
usually talk
awesome.
about with tardigrades, I'm looking at these little wacky-looking little characters there.
They are so
They're
cool.
small and soft, and things that are this small and soft don't usually have something that would appear to be physical walking. Plump and ponderous. Oh, that sounds like
I think-
the host of Radio Science
Are
News.
you speaking of me?
Plump and ponderous.
Plump
well,
and ponderous.
you take your pick. You can either be ponderous.
Plump or ponderous? No,
Either
I'm both.
one. And it says that they usually don't bother walking, because it says, for example, roundworms of similar size and body type thrash, slither their doughy forms over unpredictable substrates. Well, I wish I'd written that. That's poetry. So anyway, the reason why this article is so cool is that they've actually these people looked at the actual physics of how they walk, and the thing that they find fascinating is that the kind of mechanisms they see with these particular legs resemble. It says one possible explanation is the tardigrades long existed to fit neatly into no existing taxonomy, may actually share common ancestors and even common neural circuit with insects such as fruit flies, ants, and other segmented creatures, which, as they say, scurry along in almost the same kind of motion. Another possibility is there's no ancestral connection between tardigrades and arthropods, but that unrelated groups of organisms, and this is what I think is probably more true, independently arrive at the same strategy because of an evolutionary advantage. So either one of those is kind of cool, and I think that's part of what they're trying to, they're going to suss out as they lumber forward.
As they lumber on
with a weird little grape.
When I've watched these, they're not swimming so much as they are climbing.
Yeah, it almost looks like what they say, like an insect or something. But there's no question that whatever the mechanism, or whether there are current, genetic links or something, it's going to do that because these guys have been around for
They have been
so
around for a long time.
All right, Robert, you're going to like this story because I've heard you talk about the Mars trip.
Moss pigs.
And look at this cool thing about, will it be safe for humans to fly to Mars? Finally, you've asked over and over, you've said, when are people going to start actually determining whether or not the trip itself mission would be viable if it doesn't exceed 4 years? International research team concludes. When they say viable, does that mean that you'll get there with you'll be able to crawl out like a tardigrade or what?
No. has any human being ever been outside of the protective magnetic field of the Earth for 4 years in a row?
I'm not confessing to that. No.
0 people have done that. Have any human beings even cumulatively been in microgravity for 4 years? The answer again is 0. So we have no clue. I mean, we have an idea, but we have no data, good data to say yes, that you can exist for 4 years outside of one gravity. And yet these people are going, will it be safe for humans to fly to Mars? Mission would be viable if it doesn't exceed 4 years. Folks, if it exceeds more than a year and a half to 2 years, it goes beyond what we understand.
Well, does that ever stop any of us? Really?
4 years is beyond that, and this isn't a linear thing. It's an exponential.
Yeah.
Because you keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Your bones decalcify quicker and quicker and quicker. There are problems that multiply on top of themselves. If you're planning a 4-year trip to Mars, you're not getting anybody back alive.
Wow. Now here I'm going to because this is a long article.
I'm just saying this right now.
And I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm going to just give you 2 pieces of information.
Okay.
One, this doesn't mention microgravity at all. So just so you would know.
Are you serious?
I didn't want to tell you.
So how are you supposed to get to Mars? Are you just supposed to transport there? Like,
well, all right. I know. I didn't tell you that.
Thank you, Scotty, for beaming us to Mars.
Okay, I didn't want to tell you that.
That's just
and then
stupid.
here's the other part that I thought you would find fascinating. One of the issues that they determined from the modeling is that if you actually built the spacecraft shell out of really thick material,
it would be even worse.
It's worse because now the secondary, particles that get smacked off by the other particles.
So when
radiation.
So if you try to align your ship with lead, which is going to now have such a gigantic mass that the expense is going to be in the trillions of dollars.
And if you lick the inside of the spaceship, you get lead poisoning.
Lead poisoning. Yes, the secondary radiation is going to fry you quicker than the primary.
Yeah,
radiation.
because the stuff whacking into the. So anyway.
So good. They
I thought she would.
They at least talked about that. Did these people talk about the radiation on the surface of Mars?
Well, they're just talking about the trip there.
Oh, they're just talking about the trip.
Once we get you there, it's your own problem. We're only guaranteeing you for the trip.
You better get some travel insurance. That's all I'm saying.
All right, now this is something that Robert and I have been following, and I'm just hey, listen, I'm going to apologize to everybody up front who just doesn't. Take the time to look into this and determine for themselves if they think that this is fringy science. But basically, Robert, the date for the ECAT demo has been moved. And it was going to be in November.
Yep.
And then, but they've moved it
until December 9th.
They moved it coincidentally.
So what else is happening on December 9th?
Well, one of the things that some people have said, do you realize that they announced the Nobel Prizes on the 10th? But people are just.
Oh, I think that's a coincidence.
They are. But no, and Rossi basically he's not saying that.
That's funny.
I mean, that was one of those interesting things. It's just that and it's going to be in Sweden, and I'm going to say so. Basically, the actual announcement is
So the test is going to be in Sweden?
Yeah, and it's going to be in a factory of some people that are, anyway, all I'm going to say is, folks, we sit here and we talk about, oh my gosh, you look at New Orleans and how nobody has electricity and yada yada. I'm just saying that this is the ECAT Rossi's ECAT energy catalyzer, in this case the SKL. They're going to present the SKLED and the SKL, which produces electricity, a solid state electricity. And there's a lot of stuff here that we're not going to go into now. Just be aware that
if you were to have some of these in tractor trailers and go to different parts of the state and just plug into the grid.
Well, you wouldn't even need a tractor trailer because you could actually just put it on a small drone and drop it in.
Well, yeah, but
if you had,
but what I'm saying
plugged it into the grid
is that if you had tractor trailers of these, you would be able to supply the electricity to thousands of people.
Well, for example-
for one tractor trailer.
For example, if you had it in downtown New Orleans,
There's an idea.
and I'm going to say more than just 1,000, but
Yep.
anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so folks, please be watching this. Now, the other thing that I found, there's interesting stuff on this page too
Hey.
that we need to look
Hey,
at.
before we go on to this, why are we not hearing on the news
You're
that
not gonna hear about
that those vehicles that you go in that you can suck the moisture out of the air
Oh,
and
yeah.
get drinkable water? Why are they not?
They're not-
not
they're-
moving those into various places with solar power.
I think that's part of the Institute of Ignored Science, the museum that we're going to put together.
If they were to call us up at Radio Science News, if the
Well, they took them into Haiti. Remember,
they certainly did.
Was it under Clinton or someplace they actually
It
deployed
was
them?
it was years ago.
I don't
know. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the Obama era, when those people needed fresh water. They
did deploy a bunch
flew
of these, yeah.
They flew these devices in. They set them up. I think they were some kind of a diesel power or gasoline
Yeah, they
power,
had
but you
a
could have
generator
used
for it,
solar
yeah.
power generation too. And what it did was it sucked in the moist, humid tropical air, which you have in New Orleans.
I've heard.
And it would remove the water as drinkable water directly out
From the
and
air,
send
from the
out
atmosphere,
air out the other end. And they were each of these machines made thousands of liters a day.
Yeah.
Was my impression. And you just need 4 or 5 liters a day for a person. So we're looking at one of these things could easily do 250, 350 people for their drinking water needs at least.
We're going to
without
have-
having to ship in anything else, and then you could use your tractor trailers to bring in whatever food and electrical
Other
needs.
essentials, yeah.
I just don't understand FEMA. If you need some assistance with this, we're on call. Just give
Yeah,
us a
don't-
call. We'd love to assist
I'm going
you.
camping. Don't call
Oh,
me.
okay.
No,
Well,
I'm just
okay,
serious.
then
I'm just kidding.
call me.
Call the Smart Center right here.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that
I'd love to help out.
the thing that you're basically looking at is why is it that when we've actually seen stuff that we know to have been
And-
sort of ground
And it's
tested.
years old.
Just whatever happens to it.
This is not some on a blueprint somewhere and somebody's building the prototype
No, yeah.
in
It's
a
been
garage.
deployed. It's been deployed.
These are fully deployable things.
Okay, now, because I know when we get to the vortex beams, people are going to probably say, that's it, I can't listen to these science fiction guys anymore. But we're going to look at
So is this the
0
0
point.
point? Okay.
Now, the reason why I put this up was because I noticed that it was on the same page as the Rossi story.
Those
And
kooks,
I thought now the reason why it links to and why somebody would have put it on this page is that Rossi does claim that something about his device accesses, and there's a big long thing on ResearchGate that people can go and read for
Okay.
themselves. But the point of it is that that there are some issues of 0 point energy, which as soon as you say that, people go, "Oh man, I'm out of here."
Most scientists begin their eye rolling.
Well,
at that
and
point.
so I looked over to the side here and I saw this. There's a video unlocking 0 point energy.
Okay.
And this is Professor Garrett Modell, and it came right up just like literally on Friday, right?
So is this the little video here?
Well, okay. And the thing is, it's a long
Okay,
video.
all right.
But there's the solar hollow thing.
So
Yeah,
we're going to ask our
here it is
our,
down here. It says, see this little video?
Yeah.
Now, if you click on it, it says you can watch it on YouTube. And if you start it, I'll tell you what, why don't
It's
you...
a 44-minute, 47-second video.
I'd like to tell you about a scientific journey that my lab and I have been on for the last couple of years in developing energy harvesting technology.
I'll tell you what, let me start it on mine and then I can
Okay, all right,
control
all right.
it here.
Okay, let's do that.
Hello, I'd like to tell you about a scientific journey that my lab and I have been on for the last couple of years.
That looks pretty good.
In developing energy harvesting technology that appears to be harvesting energy from the 0 point energy vacuum.
Appears to be.
Okay.
It's a story not just about the technical
just
nature of
listen
what
to this
we've done,
very briefly,
but
but
the
I'll-
reaction of the scientific community and also the implications for this technology and in general, what we might do with it. But before I talk to you about that, I need to mention the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics can be interpreted a number of different ways. And one of the ways is to say that you cannot harvest energy from a uniform background. If everything is at equilibrium, you can't get energy from one place without
No gradient,
there being some sort of flow that would require there not to be an equilibrium. And if in fact we are harvesting energy from the background vacuum, then perhaps that would mean that we are violating the second law of thermodynamics. So in looking at this,
he doesn't know. That's right. Yeah.
was discussing this with a respected scientist I know, and he talked about our technology and about what we're doing with me in the course of several emails back and forth. And I shared some data with him, and he was very forthright, and I appreciate his honesty in his responses. At the end, he wrote me an email, and that email said the following. He said, "Hi, Garrett. Look, most people are not going to believe your paper, and that's with good reason. It's almost certainly wrong, like every other paper that has claimed to get something from nothing. There have been many, many people saying the second law of thermodynamics is wrong. So far, they have all been wrong. Yours might, after all the failures, be the first success, but that's not how the smart money is going to bet. I'm not ignoring your data. I'm just balancing your data against all the data that says the second law of thermodynamics is inviolable." Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I really appreciate his honesty. So let's take a look at the technology and why it brings on such sort of skepticism.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm actually going to stop right there. That sounds like a teaser, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is
Okay.
definitely a teaser. Now,
This is a long article, but
as a physicist, I am. Let me just toss something out. Yes, if the vacuum point energy were a very subtle, very insubstantial thing, but supposedly it's gigantic. When we talk about gigantic, we mean it's the gigantism of gigantic. It's supposed to be this unbelievable amount. So imagining that it would be smooth if there were a tiny ripple in a gigantic ocean, okay,
You wouldn't
or what looked like a tiny ripple in a gigantic ocean, it could be a huge wave. And so what I'm thinking is, if we're tapping into the teeny tiny changes in a gigantic amount of energy, those teeny tiny changes, if you were to say this is a billionth of 1% of that,
that's still
what if this thing is quadrillions of times larger than what we're thinking?
right.
Then you're going to get an enormous amount. So that if it looks smooth, nothing's smooth. Okay, so there's always little ripples in it. So if you can tap into the ripple, and if the ripples are in ratio of the amount of energy that's there, we're going to be getting energy out. That's what.
Well,
I'm
the
saying.
two things, and I'm so this is it's a long, interesting video. To the two things I'm going to say is, first of all, this guy is the head of some department at the University of Colorado
Right.
Boulder.
So
this
he
isn't
isn't
just
a kook.
This is not a kook thing.
No.
The other thing is, he says he talks about a device that is harvesting energy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
of course, as we said, apparently from the facts, he describes
Apparently.
that
Which is good science.
his device. Generating power levels of 70 watts per square meter compared to, say, 200 watts per square meter by a solar cell. So
Yeah,
this thing
yeah.
is like 1/3. This is his initial device. So the question will be,
So-
where does this go? And we'll just have to see.
So this guy's tapping into something and it's getting 70 watts per square meter.
Yeah, basically compared to, so let's say 1/3
So-
typical solar cell.
So is this 24 hours a day?
Well, and
he's getting 70
well,
watts.
that was gonna be one of the things I was gonna say, yeah.
Now, do you need to put 79 watts into it, or is this what's coming out of
Well,
it?
it just sounds like, that's what he says. It
That's
produces.
cool.
Well, and again, I put this up here because this is one of those things that if it has merit, it'll certainly, as any kind of scientific thing, especially in this age when we're trying to address, all sorts of energy issues, this whole concept, and I also put it up there because supposedly Rossi makes reference to some 0-point energy issues, Casimir effects, and all these other things that physicists will sit around, like we say, if they're down at the pub on Friday arguing about the Casimir effect again. Oh, there they are.
There they are.
Duking it out. All right, now this next thing, though, this again is super fascinating to me because
Vortex beams.
We've talked about things like how hydrogen atoms can be made to spin and do different things. This is something this comes from Phys.org, I do believe. The folks.
Okay,
No,
so
this
this
is from
says-
Science News.
Scientists previously made twisted beams of light and electrons.
And I thought to myself, no, wait a minute. And there's a sentence in here somewhere, whether we find it or not, because you know how we always talk about, you and I will be talking about this. Well, they always represent things that we know that are in our three-dimensional, like they're talking about it as a linear up
Right.
and down or whatever it is. It's a scientist that knew how to. It says they already knew how to do this. Dish up spiraling beams of light or electrons, known as vortex beams. Now the first vortex beams of atoms and molecules are on the menu. Now, see, I'm sorry because I missed a lot of this to
I
begin
did
with.
too.
If you go down a little bit further, it says in quantum physics, particles are described by a wave function.
Sure.
It's the or is it a wave? Is it a particle?
Wave-like pattern that allows scientists to calculate the probability of finding a particle in a particular place. But vortex beam
This is cool. This is- you like this.
waves don't slosh up and down like ripples on water. Instead, the beam's particles have wave functions that move in a corkscrew motion as a beam travels through space.
Now again,
That means the beam carries a rotational oomph known as orbital angular momentum. This is something really very strange, very non-intuitive.
and again, so again,
Well,
this is
nifty.
a really cool article. The reason why I mention this is that, again, I'm just going to say we're all going to wait, and there's a great illustration, but of how they were able to determine some of this. But one of the things that people have criticized Andre Rossi when he's talked about how energy is being made with his ECAT is they're talking about, well, MC. He says no, that isn't violated because his point was that the motion of the things that he was talking about were not from point to point. They had to do with this angular momentum thing
There's an
at speed
angular
of light.
momentum involved.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
his point was that the mass that's being, that's moving in this particular ECAT system, it's not that it moves from point A to point B, left to right, up or down,
Right.
or from, front to back. It's that it's actually moving at the speed of light in these, these patterns of spin or rotation.
Okay. So it would be like you say, okay, so I have this spinning object and it's moving slowly across the room. How much energy is
Right.
in it? And you ignore the fact that it
That's
has
right.
rotational energy.
Yeah, and
Okay.
for example, if it happened to be like a 1 kilogram thing spinning at 400,000 RPMs per second, and it was just moving at like a mile per hour down the street, and you
Right.
tried to pick it up, it would probably
There would be some kind of a problem.
it would rip
Yes.
your arm off
Yep.
and throw
Yep.
you
And
across.
you'd go,
the room.
well, how
did that happen?
Did that happen? It was just slowly,
Right.
strolling down the street. Okay.
So this
Very
is
cool.
actually this
Okay.
whole thing about, now again, I was not really, now as a physicist, Robert, perhaps you had seen, I had not seen that the idea that they could use photons or electrons, spiraling beams of light or electrons as vortex beams, because you work in the defense industry a lot, and so I was not aware of that. But
Oh, man.
But the idea that they're now talking about
Yeah.
these vortex beams being atoms or
Of
molecules.
atoms and molecules.
This is a real interesting thing.
I'd seen the vortex beams with electrons,
Right,
but I
so-
had not seen the atoms of the molecules.
So this is a big story.
This is really
If you're not a
amazing.
physicist, you're going, well, what other channels can I turn to? I don't know. All right, just a quick. When I saw Solar Holler, because it popped up
Solar
on my
Holler.
page about the vortex beams, I just thought I'm putting this on today because Solar Holler is these are people, these are business people and scientists and innovators in our region. Solar Hollow is bringing the next generation of energy.
These guys.
Yeah,
I know these guys.
Yeah, we've talked
Yeah.
to some of them.
Yep.
Of energy production to our
just
ancient
didn't click.
mountains. We relentlessly pursue innovative approaches that bring solar within the reach of all Appalachians and renew our communities. And I put this link up.
These are really good folks.
Look, here's some people putting it. It says at home,
At
it's on
home,
a
at
house.
work,
Here's a
and
barn.
and in the community.
And anyway, the other thing, there's some good little videos. The folks from Solar Hollow talking
It makes
about
jobs.
it's I love this thing where they have a Solar Hauler and the Electrical Workers Union Local 317 launch ads calling on the congressional delegations to invest in clean energy jobs. How nice would it be to have clean energy jobs in the state of West Virginia?
It would be awesome.
So, and again, a nice picture of all these folks.
Yep. Good stuff.
I put this up
Thank you.
because I want people to, first of all, be aware, and maybe on this page you might want to get involved. And perhaps you want to do stuff on your barn.
Or it might be that you're going, hey, I'm looking for a new job.
Oh yeah, and I'm just saying, this is one of the wonderful things, even in an area that dominantly is of the opinion that, well, it's either coal, but then if it's not coal, it's going to be natural gas. There are more things.
There are more
things to look at.
things in the universe.
Okay,
yes.
so Robert, this is
Excellent.
this is cannibalism on a scale that you will
On
not
an
believe.
interstellar scale.
Yes, and when I saw this story, because I'm thinking
Astronomers may have seen a star gulped down a black hole and explode.
this sounds
Okay,
like
whoa.
this sounds like
It-
a cartoon I saw.
Okay.
One day.
All right. First of all, once it's in the black hole, it's not going to explode.
See, that's where they got me mistaken.
That's
Guess
where-
what?
So
It's
it can.
the other way around.
Okay.
A
all right.
black hole small enough.
Oh, small enough.
Yeah.
Not. All right.
That's
so,
what's
so,
so
so
cool.
it's not that you've got a galactic black hole that swallows a planet. You've got
or
a
a star.
Right. You've got a small enough black hole that it
star
literally
sucks-
goes into the planet, and then
Well, of course they attract-
the planet implodes.
Well, no,
Is that what
it
you're
was
saying?
actually a star. So
Oh, okay.
so,
All right.
So which is
I
even
mean a star.
which is even better.
Oh yeah.
Because basically you're thinking, oh, these two things were both, of course, as you know, people often say, well, the gravity attracted, and I'm going, no, they always attract
Right.
one another,
Right.
each other in this case.
Everything in the universe.
So this
attracts
is so
everything
cool.
else.
The Very Large Array. I love the name of that.
All right.
VLA.
Yep.
This is the 27 enormous dishes in the New Mexican
Yeah.
desert. This is so cool.
I would love to go see that in person.
It says during the observatory scans in 2017, a burst of radio energy as bright as the brightest exploding star supernova, as seen from Earth, appeared in a dwarf star, forming a dwarf star forming galaxy about 500 million light years away.
Just down the block.
So basically, and I thought this is just one of the
All right,
coolest
so-
things I've ever
so
seen.
we've got a black hole. Do we know how big the black hole was?
And
Or do we have an idea of its mass?
Well, I mean, I think they're still, they go through, because this next little piece was from the Keck Observatory. It says the Keck Observatory saw a luminous outflow of material spewing in all directions
Okay.
at 3.2 million kilometers per hour from a central location. So they thought it was an energetic explosion.
3.2 million kilometers.
Then they
per
found
hour?
an extremely bright X-ray source in an archival data from a monitor of all-sky X-ray, which is the MAXI telescope in Japan. Anyway, the long story short is, and this is their best guess now, is that they believe that the compact black hole, the object, spiraled into the still living star for hundreds of years, eventually making its way to and then eating the star's core.
Wow.
Then at that point, the larger star shed huge amounts of gas and does
Sure.
forming a shell of material around the do. Anyway, this is really an amazing scenario.
So yeah, if it's consuming the core, you're going to have jets of material coming
Yeah.
out the poles. Well, what would be the rotational poles?
Yeah.
Whether that lines up with the star poles or not. So you're looking at luminous outflow of material spewing in all directions at 3.2 million kilometers per hour. That's 890 kilometers per second.
That's pretty fast. And but they go through it, as they say, this is really great detective work, but the basic, I'm thinking this will be a great scene in one of the
I
Star
would
Trek.
love to see that. Okay,
Literally,
all right.
this thing,
All right, so we're not looking at a supermassive black hole just sucks in
No.
star and goes bloop.
could be one of those
We're-
little black holes.
We're looking at a possible stellar sized black hole, which is less than 10 kilometers across, just goes in and causes havoc, and wow.
Yeah, and they're talking, and they're talking about looking at common envelope evolution, blah blah blah. This is just they say most of the time if you have like two things circling each other, like dancers in West Side Story or something. Anyway, this is such a cool story. And that's their best evidence based on all these different. I love the fact that they garnered
nice
information from all these
image.
different sources. Yeah, the image that they have is pretty cool too.
Okay, I would I'm sure somebody's gonna do some kind of computer analysis of this and do a movie. I'd really like to see the movie. That would be really nifty.
But this is so cool. A star swallowing a compact object such as a black hole or a neutron star.
Right.
But the idea that the black hole descends and then it gets to the core and wreaks further havoc. It's just such a great scene.
And it makes sense that the outer envelope of the star is far enough away that it can, with all the energy of the core being consumed, then it expands out.
Yeah.
And a nebula is probably formed.
I'll tell you what I'm going to ask us to do, Robert, because
Okay.
I'm looking at our time, and I think we might get all the stories in. But I thought this story about the shrimp crown.
crown.
Now I know that you're one of the people that will often apply your teeth to a shrimp as well.
Yes, I have been known to gnaw on shrimp.
Wow, check this out. Tougher and lighter dental implant crowns can be made of cellulose-based nanocomposites.
And these nanocomposites come from
Here's
insights from shrimp.
Well, the source was, I'm scanning down, it says a research team succeeded in designing and producing a mineralized biocomposite exhibiting high-strength stiffness and fracture toughness that resembles the architecture of the dactyl club of the mantis shrimp. How about that name, the dactyl club?
I like dactyl
I used to
club.
hang out down there. I would get some iced tea and sit out on the dactyl club.
Those people never allowed me in.
Yeah, they let you
I would
in.
go in and go, "Hey guys, what's the password for the day?" And they go, "Next."
Anyway, if you're familiar with the mantis shrimp, it says
I am familiar with
these
the mantis shrimp.
mesmerizing ships are one of
These-
the deadliest killing machines.
These are also one of the most amazingly beautiful animals
are.
on the planet.
They are.
They are gorgeous, and these things can see in infrared and ultraviolet and polarized light, and I mean they're
They do.
astounding.
Well, the thing that's astounding is they've often talked about it, what it's come to, like sonofusion
Yeah.
and all kinds of crazy things, because they have this
This claw,
the claw or club-like claw that actually snaps
That-
so
that can-
fast.
yes.
Cavitation.
yeah,
occurs.
it snaps so fast that it actually it actually produces light.
Yeah, and they're still investigating that in terms of what they call sonofusion and all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, it's
but
like what is going on?
I love it. It says the mantis shrimp's primary sources of food are hard shell marine organisms like
Snaps 'em.
mollusks. Oh, so you're a mollusk, and here comes this little shrimp of a guy. It says to get to the soft, nutritious parts. In other words, the soft, chewy center.
A yummy center.
They literally obliterate straight through the shell. And they do it because they create this an amazing shockwave.
Shockwaves.
So
yeah.
anyway, long
so
story
cool. I
short,
love
they've
mantis.
analyzed the structure. So first of all, why doesn't it destroy itself when it does this and blow apart?
Right.
It says it has multiple layers, and what they've done is they've copied this. The main building block is a helicoidal, so it has a helicoidally ordered chitin nanofibrils that are glued together by a protein-rich matrix. Again,
I told you.
Poetry. It's just poetry. I want to say that again. The main building block is a helicoidally ordered chitin nanofibrils that are glued together by a protein-rich matrix.
Ooh, I am all a
Man.
tingle.
I didn't even say hydroxyapatite down
Oh,
here.
now I'm tingling.
Apatite crystals. So anyway, this is what they've basically done is one of my favorite things, the biomime, or the idea
I
of
just
going
love
to
this
nature.
stuff. This is amazing.
And where they've started with, in order to do this, they reconstructed a material based on this thing, and it says
Right.
the new composite was processed into intricate shapes by manufacturing into a dental implant crown with periodic patterns of micro-reinforcement orientation and a bilayer architecture similar to human teeth. With further investigation, here's what's the proteins can be engineered to produce new characteristics. But the point is, okay, they did it as a real object, which I tell these, when I think of the scientists, I'm going, what a wonderful, smart thing. But once they apply this could be applied to all kinds of things, because within the shrimp dactyl club, it has super hard stuff, super resilient stuff,
Right.
but then it has other stuff that stretches
Soft
and
and
flexes
stretchy.
and
Yep.
twists. And
Yep.
it's the brilliance of a composite material.
This is amazing stuff, and I love the fact that some grad student or maybe grad student's younger sister was sitting around going, so if the mantis shrimp can like break through shell, why doesn't the mantis shrimp claw just explode?
Yeah.
And you're going, oh, well, there's
a
an
good
interesting,
question.
challenging question for my graduate
That's
degree.
right. That's right. I like it.
I love it.
All right, so that is just so cool. All right, since we're right there, let's just take a quick look at the graphene. Because and I once said that if it's a graphene story, Robert has in his contract that it has to be included.
Yes,
Where do you
have
see
to do
this?
it.
This is cool. Study unveils strain-induced quantum phase transitions in magic angle graphene. Now, again, when you read through this, I'm thinking, is this an episode of The Big Bang Theory?
So-
where they're just trying to sound cool.
So when you stretch or twist this at a quote unquote magic angle,
Yeah.
then interesting quantum phase transitions happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really cool. Nice diagram, by the way.
Well, and I think the thing that's cool is that they put more than one. I want to say, is it?
Speaking of more, what this looks like a elastic Moire interference
yeah.
pattern.
Well, it does. I know. I saw that too. When you look at the
I'm gonna have
chart,
to write that down. I've never seen the phrase elastic Moire interference pattern.
you may be the first to utter this phrase. I have to look further. It says anyway. It talks about what they're calling the magic angle twisted. And here's the part that I hadn't seen before. It's not just the graphene; it's a bilayer, and so that's why you're getting. So the magic angle twisted bilayer graphene. So bilayer means two of them together. It says it's a strongly correlated material. Was first experimented with in 2018. It hosts a diverse array of different phases that it can go to, including metals, semi-metals, churn insulators, quantum anomalous. I love this. Quantum anomalous Hall states, and perhaps most interestingly,
Superconductivity. It says, as an analogy, one can think of this as like having 8 buckets that can be filled with water. This guy explained, for a given amount of water, the MATBG picks out one, and only one way to distribute the water. For instance, if there are 2 buckets worth of water, then the MATBG might choose to fill 2 buckets full to the brim or fill 4 buckets each halfway. The phase of the system is labeled by 2 things. One, how the water, electrons, is distributed in the bucket, the bands. And 2, how hard it is to add one more drop of water, i.e. whether the system is insulating or conducting.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, what a neat analogy.
Yeah, this is really this is cool stuff. Looks like we're getting excited. Anyway, please read the rest of this article.
This is slick.
Cool graphene stuff. Now, the other one that just has, we may never get to Ezano, but Robert, let's go to Photonics.
We will sometime.
Now, since Robert has for years and years, I think since early childhood, been a physicist, maybe 2 or 3 years old.
I believe 2 or 3, yeah.
This has to do with quantum computing, but this is, when you think about the quantum computing, in some ways it seems so far off and like, so how am I going to access this? But it says here at the very top, the quantum computing market is projected to reach $65 billion by 2030.
Wow.
So investors. Anyway,
If you're an investor,
this long story
quantum computing.
This goes into. This is about quantum optics and photonics. I'm trying to find quantum modes, Q modes. Research is working on different approaches of trying to achieve quantum speeds. This is a whole different.
Entangling fields of light.
Yeah, this is we're gonna
Wow,
have to. We're
good
gonna have
stuff.
to probably delve into this because I was looking for a nice little summation here.
Some little soundbite.
It says his multiplexing systems open paths towards quantum computing in real world conditions. We will touch on this next week because I was looking for a nice little summary of the photonics-based concept, but it'll take longer to read it than it will for me to invite you back to Radio Science News next week.
It's 12 o'clock.